Go ahead.
Greetings and salutations. Thank you for joining us. And you have landed on another episode of Embrace Your Storm. And we've got another exciting episode for you as always. And we've got a slightly different episode this time again. We have someone from the technology sector, which I'm interested and I love. So this is going to be an awesome interview. So today we have on Russ Willey, and he's the founder and owner of MyGifMo. So Russ, thanks for coming on today.
John, thank you so much for having me. I really
I,
appreciate it. Yeah.
it's my pleasure. I've we've been talking about it for a few months to have you on, so I'm glad to have you on finally.
No, it's
Um,
great. I'm very impressed with all your success, and I love this idea of a podcast to bring your reach even further, as they say,
Absolutely.
to everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Russ, the question I ask everyone, which thankfully is kind of the same no matter what industry you're in, is how did you find it's sort of like technology, entrepreneurship, that seems to be kind of your niche for your creative like outlet. How did you kind of stumble into that? Did you always kind of know that? Was it later in life? Like how did you find that as your thing?
Yeah, so when I was growing up back in the day, they video games was the thing, and so I was a gamer at heart. I always had an interest in computers, so I knew I would eventually, hopefully. I mean, everybody always say they want to grow up and like, oh boy, if I could be a football player, or I could, that. But a lot of people can't get to that. It's, the 1% of the 1%. So
Right,
you
right.
always kind of hope that your hobby could be something you did long term. It took me long enough though, but eventually I was able to, merge gaming and computers and something that I could do professionally, first as a side hustle, as they say these days, but and make it into growing into something that is luckily benefits more than just myself. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
always nice to
totally. Yeah.
it's always nice to have. Oh, I wish I could create something, and you have these ideas, and you want to create something, make something, and be something. And so I'm lucky enough that I was able to at least pursue that and always try to grow every day and make it bigger than you had it yesterday. So.
So what were some of the early like technology things? Did you get into kind of I'm kind of guessing, but like was it in the 90s ish when you're doing your like gaming
Yeah,
on computers? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
gaming in the '90s, and then like
Yeah.
I for a while I studied computer science in college, and I went into the printing industry, which lended itself to database management, that sort of thing. At that point, there was a thing we had, and it's still prevalent today, is variable data, where
Mm.
you'll get any kind of bank statement. And that'll have your personalized information on your account information and possibly an offer that they might be personalized to you. So all of that logic, all of that behind the scenes to drive
Yeah,
that data
yeah.
is what variable data is. So me having my computer background and having a print background, I was able to get into that side of it. So Joe, with his bank account information, he better have the right account information going on that mailing, or is going to be, heck to pay. So it was, so to get that logic right is what I excelled at, and I really like that. And then
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so it's really kind of neat. And so after that, I saw a couple of things with the distributed computing back in the '90s, where one of them is SETI at home, which is search for extraterrestrial intelligence at home. Basically, they made a screensaver to analyze big chunks of data that they couldn't do on their own computers, so they
Yeah,
distributed a
they
screensaver.
decentralized it and like had everyone's
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was like an
yeah.
army of ants, and people, realized that they could do more work on everybody's, or a lot of individual computers, slower computers, but more overall work than one could do by itself, one computer.
Yeah,
So
totally.
that was a nice application for distributed computing. And as years went by, I held that in my brain. And then with the coming along of blockchain technology, it was a perfect application for distributed computing. You're basically taking, it's an algorithm to figure out unencrypt transactions on a blockchain, whether it be, digital currency. They get the bad press, but blockchain technology is a decentralized network, and all it
Yeah.
need, and you can share information. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
exclusive to
No,
digital currency.
it's literally any digital format of any file.
Exactly.
You know what I
So
mean? Yeah.
exactly. And in that environment, because it's decentralized, there is no one doing the quote accounting like a Visa might do in a centralized network. there is no Visa. So that work has to be done. That math, that algorithm has to be, those checks and balances, that accounting has
Yeah.
to be done. So distributed computing is a perfect application for a blockchain, proof of work blockchain technology.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Got into that, and
Absolutely.
that was a culmination of those all the things that I liked about computers, and so and so yeah, so that's where it came to me where I am now. So
And what was honestly the way I found you, and this was freaking genius on your part for like advertising, whatever. But on Facebook ads, it showed up in my feed and it was like, "Oh, are you a nonprofit depending on Amazon Smile?" Well,
yeah,
these weren't your words. They're my words. Amazon's, in case you didn't know, Amazon Smile is starting to become a piece of trash. So so they're not going to do what they said they're going to do, and
exactly,
oh no, collecting this money and distributing it to the nonprofits is too much of a pain in the ass.
exactly,
So we're just going to stop this program now.
right, right,
And and so you took out an ad being like, hey, if you're depending on that as revenue, come check this out. And so
yeah, yeah,
like, so that
no,
was
and
genius.
yeah, we kind of hit. It's two things. We kind of hit a stroke of luck in that it was going away, but but in my mind, I'd rather it not go away because we're not about replacing any
Well, right.
one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'd
No, I
much
get
rather
that.
yeah, I'd much rather have Amazon Smart continue along with us and along with everything else, a 5K run, donations, charity streams, like that stuff. So, but to your point is, yeah, they basically said it's not working, which was a lot of crap.
Yeah, they just didn't want to like they're probably like, why are we dealing with this like administrative,
Yeah,
hoopla, you know what I mean? They're probably like, this
right.
isn't even worth it.
Yeah, and
So
we found that it was lucky for us in that one sense, but yeah, so what we found is that Amazon Smile, was about $240 at the end of the day. $240 was the minimum, or the average that
yeah,
each charity
yeah.
was getting. Of course, St. Jude's, it was going to get millions from that because there's a
Right.
lot more people. But 240, and I found that with our passive platform, we can replace that in as little as 10 users. So it
Wow.
was kind of really it was really kind of good that they did that. But like I said before, we would rather have every tool in the tool chest for
Yeah, no,
nonprofits
I
because
hear
they
you.
need it. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
sad that it went
absolutely.
away, but it was an opportunity for us to say, listen, you were getting this money, you're not going to get it anymore. If you had 10 followers, you had 10 volunteers in your office, you could replace that money, that you were getting for Amazon
Yeah.
Smile every year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that brings us to my give mode. Do you want to like let the audience
Yeah.
kind of know how that works and everything?
Yeah, so this was the culmination of all the stuff that we've just talked about is basically mygifmo.com is a passive and active direct donations. This next month, actually, we're going to be basically become a GoFundMe, if you will, in
Oh,
one
wow.
sense. Yeah, it's going to be really powerful. We're going to be working with streamers to work in partnership with them. If they have a live performance, a live stream, a live fundraiser, we'll be acting as the payment platform between the streamer and the charity. And
That's
all the fun,
crazy.
it's going to be great. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a whole different venue that we're going to be going into. There'll be a lot more information about that. But at the core of our platform is our passive fundraising application, which is what we talked about before, is the distributed computing model. Our app actually runs on its own on your Windows PC or laptop. It's a Microsoft trusted app, and what it's basically doing is it's running in the background seamlessly, and all the time that your computer is running, it's doing a little math problem in the background. And every time it solves a math problem, along with all the other users that are running our app on their computers and using a code of their charity, all that math solves an equation. It verifies a transaction on a blockchain. And for that work, there is a reward, and that reward is money. And we collect it. It's almost like virtual can collecting. I remember
Mm.
back in the day, I'm
Mm.
probably dating myself. Can collecting, you'd collect cans, you'd turn them all in, you'd give to the Boy Scouts or whatever. So it would be great if you could have everybody out there collecting cans and 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, but you can't do that. So what our app does, it's basically like virtual can collecting. You have all your supporters run it on their computer, and every minute that it's running, it's basically collecting virtual cans. We collect all those funds, and we send them back to the charities of their
That's really
choice.
cool.
Yep.
That's honestly really cool. I'm it literally can't get easier than that
No.
for someone to be like, you know what? I don't even have $10, but you have to have hard drive space to install this app and to run it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's a minimal
so
install, but basically, yeah, you're right. There's no out-of-pocket expense. It's a tough thing that people sometimes to grasp, but in any blockchain technology, like we said, the actual work has to be done for a healthy proof of
yeah,
work.
no,
So,
no,
so
exactly.
we are doing work. It's not magic, but the work is in the form of CPU usage. So have your computer running anyways. You're on Yahoo, you're on, and I'm dating myself, Yahoo. You're you're on
We're on
Amazon.
Chat GPT.
Yeah, oh my gosh, right? Yeah, nowadays. So, you're running your computer anyways. So the
Yeah,
computer's
yeah.
on, it's running. So even if you're on there running solitaire,
Yeah,
then
no,
why
yeah.
why not have your computer doing math in the background and it raises money for charity? So, a lot of, like I said, it's a tough concept to get people's head around, and that's the biggest challenge is to it actually works, it's safe, and why not do it? Your computer's running anyways.
Yeah, no, I mean exactly. Like,
Yep.
um, what was I gonna shoot? I had a question, I just freaking lost it. That
No, you know
sucks.
what? I It's all good. Yeah, it's so funny because I get so, and you and I go back and forth. We've been friends for a while, and I talk so much. I get so excited that
No, I
I probably threw you off your game. So
no,
I
no, I mean,
apologize.
I was listening to you, and I was trying. I had like a question, like follow up with what exactly you were saying. It was about
Yeah.
installing the
Yeah,
app.
so it's a seamless install. It's a small application. I was very proud of what we did as far as the processing of it. It runs at 50% out of the box, meaning that if you have hyper-threading and you have 16 threads, you have 8 cores on your CPU.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
only going to run 8 of those virtual threads on your 16.
Okay.
So it's not going to bog down your system. And then what you can also do is you can change that anytime you want in the menu to do 0% for a time being if you wanted or
Mm.
100%. Now, the great thing about this app too is if you run it and you walk away from the computer, it'll go to a screensaver and it'll go up to 100% automatically. And then when you wiggle your mouse, it goes back to 50.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
you
All
don't even
right,
have
all
to do
right.
that. And
Okay.
the other thing that is great about it is that if you are running it, I was aware because I'm a gamer, and if it was going to get in the way of me running my games, or if I wanted go on my browser or do email or Outlook or whatever I wanted to do, and it was interfering. So it runs at a low system priority in the system. So if you launch MyGifMo and you have it running, and then something else is launched, say Chrome or Word
Mm.
or anything,
Mm.
it automatically gets bumped up to a higher system priority and MyGizmo gets down throttled. Now, of course, we sacrifice some crunching of the numbers, but
Yeah.
it's so important because if it interfered with what people were doing, no one would want to use it.
They'd like
I wouldn't
forget
want to
this. I'm
use it.
gonna uninstall it. You know what I mean? They would be like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
and to that point, though, there is always going to be a limitation. If you run 1,000 applications on your computer, of course, it's going to bog your system down. So it is one more application that's running, but it's minimal as far as effect on the system. So, but we wanted to make sure we did everything possible. And like I said, we added that feature where you could run it at 0 and walk away. So if you wanted to do it, like if you had a game you're running or Photoshop or video editing, you could always quit a bunch of your other applications and then
Mm.
put the MyGizmo to 0. And then
Mm.
when you walked
Mm.
away, it would go to 100 and then it go back to 0. And there's also a little reminder if you run the computer at 0, the app for more than 24 hours, it'll come up and prompt you and say, "Hey, you've been running this at 0. Why don't you run it at 50 or 100 if you get a chance?" So it's very smart. when you go away from your computer, it'll go to 100 and automatically go back to 0. So
Oh, I thought of what I lost.
yep. See, I helped you.
Yeah, yeah. No, does I'm assuming this, but so say once I shut off my computer and I turn it back on, does it automatically start back up, or do I need to like restart my GizMo when
Yeah.
I?
So the great thing about that is the default setting is run on startup. So
Okay, perfect.
so now you can obviously, as the pull down menu of options, you can stop that from happening, but there's really no reason to. But our whole thing is being transparent in what we're doing, telling people that we're running math in the background, we're verifying transactions. So we never want to hide from anything. So when you reboot your computer, it starts automatically. There's a way to turn that off, but it
Yeah.
prompts you, the GUI comes right up in front of your face. You can always hide it, but it
Okay.
runs up. So it's not anything like, boy, what's going on with my computer? It's right there. So yes, it does start up on startup. And what it also does is it remembers, even if you shut it down, reboot, it automatically remembers the last charity code that you had. So
Okay.
you
So
only
it
have to
saves.
enter it in
Okay.
once. So
Okay.
we thought that was a great feature too, because if someone was supporting their charity and they quit the app and they reboot, it might not be remembering. I mean, we had to have it remember. So you don't want to have people entering that code in for charities. Once that code's in there, and it's a great selling feature because once it's installed, once the code's in there, the charity never has to go back to that person and expect
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
get a donation from that person via MyGifMo automatically.
Right.
So
Right.
it's kind of one of the charities I work with. They said it's kind of the holy grail of fundraising. You never have to hit them again. It's going to be
Yeah,
automatically
no,
coming to them.
seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long
So
as you're going to take kind of like that initial step, install it, put the
exactly.
charity name in, and then
Right.
boom, like you're good to go. You
You're
know what
good
I
to
mean?
go. And like
Yeah.
anything is nothing is magic. There's always work involved, but it's a minimal amount of work for the outcome. And and like I said, every tool that charities can get is a tool that they need. So we think it's worth the effort, and it is worth the effort. But you're right. We always try to be honest. It's not magic. It's not like we have some content creators, because we actually work with content creators. We work with charities, organizations, anything, because we're a technology company, so we're not
Yeah.
limited to working with charities. So we have a
Right.
couple of content creators, and they're like, well, if I don't install the app and no one uses my code, do I still get paid? I'm like, well, because some work has to be done. It's not
Yeah,
magic, but yeah,
exactly. No,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So
But what you need to here's an idea. Um, I'm always coming up with ideas, but this is on the fly. Right now, your MyGifMo doesn't run on Linux, and I'm assuming you programmed it in maybe some sort of .NET framework or something. But
yeah,
if it actually, hey, I'm rethinking my thought. Okay, here's what you do. You get a SBC, a single board computer, and you get it to run. You get one
hmm
that can run, Windows like x86 architecture or whatever. There are some like lower end ones. So there are some that are like $100. Like
yep,
they're like Celeron processors or whatever. But that part doesn't matter. Hear out my thought. You create little miniature miners for like the organizations maybe, and you
yep.
have that little miner running Windows, and you install MyGifMo on it, and all
Mhm.
they need to do is just like plug it into a wall and just like let it run.
Yeah, exactly. We're always looking for it. We have just Windows now, but we're coming out with a Mac OS version, and
Mm.
then we're also our plans are to get a Linux version. What actually is funny is I wanted to talk to you about, and we can do it now or off of, but I was looking at Docker. Docker as far
Oh
as
yeah, absolutely.
run it in a Docker environment,
Yeah.
and you can utilize I think Docker, and you could tell me you're the expert on that.
Honestly, you could have people run Docker instances even like online. They could like
Exactly. So
make it.
and from what I've been reading, I think the Docker, the Linux, because doesn't Linux take it's better optimized
Oh,
for these,
absolutely.
right, for the
100%.
CPU
100,
usage. So
100%. Yeah.
you don't need all the overhead. So if we made a
Exactly.
Docker version of this of the app,
Yep.
you could get a VPN, not a VPN, a
No, yeah,
VPN.
you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
you could basically get a Linux server, an online Linux server, pretty inexpensively, and get like 100
Absolutely.
of them, and
No, sure.
install
Yeah.
Docker packets And
Well,
and the term.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
go ahead.
even that same thought process that you could totally do that then on a Raspberry Pi. Like you could
Exactly.
buy like any Raspberry Pi, here's what you could, this is what I'm saying. This would be funny or not funny, but you could create the Raspberry Pi image that has the Docker, all
Hmm.
that set up. And all people would have to do is copy the Raspberry Pi image over from like your website and put it on their SD card, put it in the Raspberry Pi, and then boom, they could have their own little MyGifMo
Yeah.
server running. You know what I
All right.
mean?
Yeah. So
Like,
let's you and I get a meeting after this.
yeah,
All
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, dude,
right, I'll put
absolutely.
that in my calendar because that was definitely one of the things I was looking at Docker, and I knew that Linux, operating system is much more efficient at
Oh,
using,
hell yeah, hell
so there's
yeah.
no overhead of Windows. So yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely,
all right.
100%.
Well, I'm writing that down now, John.
Yeah,
We're gonna
man.
we're
Yeah,
gonna work
yeah.
that offline. So.
Absolutely. So all right, so well, speaking of MyGivMo, so like let's say someone wants to add their charity. Well, hang on, let me before I finish that kind of
Sure.
question. Can streamers also have a code then? Is that where you're going? Can streamers have a code and nonprofit charities, or are you still only dealing with nonprofit charity?
Absolutely.
Oh,
No, like
okay.
I said, we are a
Wonderful.
technology company. We're not limited. In fact, it's kind of a big statement, but I always used to like to say is, we work with content creators, nonprofits, organizations, basically anyone in the world that has a good cause. I can give a code
Yeah.
to them. For instance, if and that goes to the point I was saying in the opening, where we're going to become a full donation platform. You could have someone that was ill with cancer or funeral costs, and you could ask me for a code. If you had enough supporters to run the app, then
Holy
I
shit,
could
that's a
give you a
genius. Oh,
code.
sorry. That's a genius idea.
No,
That that
exactly.
that
So,
that seriously is that is a freaking genius idea.
yep. And we have
Wow.
content creators we work with now. And as you know, I mean, you might have on Twitch, you might have a content creator that has 10 subscribers. And they're actually getting money from those subscribers, but
Yeah.
you might have 1,000 followers. Now, as you know, a follower, you're not getting anything from those
Yeah. Yeah.
followers. So if you could somehow monetize those followers, then that would be huge. So
Yeah, no,
that
if you can, like I
you could,
said, if you
yeah,
can get them to do that one click install and type in the charitable
exactly.
name. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
it's kind of nice for a streamer. It says, listen, if you could even, and it goes to the same point, not to jump around, but when I talk with charities and they say, well, who's the audience? I said, well, you got your active donators, but you have lapsed donors. And lapsed donors is a term that you're probably familiar with, but also in,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so a lapsed donor, for the audience that doesn't know, there's a donor that has donated to you once, but they haven't donated in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. And
Mm-hmm.
the traditional nonprofits are still sending them, they're still doing physical mailings. They're printing out
Exactly.
paper. They're
It's
adding,
pathetic.
they're adding postage. They're
Yeah.
doing, they're still cost money to send to these people that haven't given anything in 3 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, Russ, if you could tell me that of these, I have, 5,000 active donators, but I've got 40,000 in my database that have never donated once. That lapse donor, if you could tell me that we could even get 10% of those 40,000 lapse donors to download your app and use my code, and I could get money from them every year, that's a huge win for me. So
Absolutely.
it's the same kind
Absolutely.
of thought process in the followers. You have 100,
Yeah.
you have 10 subs. Great, I'm getting 250 from those per month for my my channel, but I might have 1,000 people that have followed my stream and they're not doing anything monetized. Maybe they give bits every once in a while, but the same type of thing. If you could even monetize those 10% of those 1,000 followers, it would be
Yeah,
worth it for you.
absolutely. No,
Uh,
100%.
yep.
No, that's awesome because like I said, I was thinking you only offered this to charity. It's mygivmo.com, correct?
MyGifMo.com. Yep. And
Okay.
yeah, it's not limited. We're branching into that part of it because you could certainly start a charity fundraiser to raise money for charities, but also for funeral costs, unfortunately, or something like that.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
it's traditional
That
donation is going to work as well. So we're going to accept that. So you can crowdfund with that and add the bonus of passive income using our
yeah, no,
MyGifMo app.
I'm telling you that crowdfunding aspect of it where it's like you set a a deadline, or you set like what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it, English is failing me right now.
No,
Wh-
a certain number, a certain run time, or a certain
Yeah, exactly. You set
campaign
like yeah, you
date.
set like a limitation or whatever, basically.
Right.
Like where there's scarcity. That's the word I was looking for. You want to
Gotcha.
create scarcity. And
Right.
so when you're like, look, there's this number crunch. We need this app for the next whatever 10
Yeah.
days to run 24. So it gets all these people to be like, yeah, I'm gonna leave my computer on, all day, every day.
Exactly.
I'm gonna run it at 100%. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Exactly.
that is such a genius idea.
Yep.
It really is. It
Yeah,
really
and
is.
so that's what we're moving into, that part of it, to offer those services, which is huge. And then it's kind of like you might do a GoFundMe, we're going to match them as far as fees and everything. So you might do that, but GoFundMe doesn't have a passive app. So it's
Dude.
double. You're double dipping on what people can donate
Yeah.
passively and actively. So it's a huge
Ooh.
win for charities and like you said, anybody that has a good
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
I remember back in the day, because we're still new, but
Yeah,
a couple of years
right.
couple of years ago when I had the idea, we worked with Georgetown University, and
That's cool.
the finance majors there had reached out to me and they said, "Well, we'd love your app. We understand it completely." And they said, "You've basically unlocked passive fundraising for anyone in the world that has a cause." And I said, "Yeah, we kind of have." So
It
it's great.
really is crazy. Like,
Yep.
especially seeing this aspect of the crowd. Like I said, that's freaking genius, man.
Yeah. Yep. So
That
your next
really is a
event,
game.
John, when you're performing, we'll be doing a
Dude,
live.
$100%.
We're gonna hook you
Yeah,
up, and that's what
yeah,
we're gonna do.
no. We're
So,
gonna we're gonna figure out some kind of live
yep,
event to do for sure.
absolutely. And then we just
100%.
act as a Tiltify or a GoFundMe. That's pretty
Yeah,
much in.
yeah.
But the advantage over all of them is that we will meet all of the numbers, and everybody will get the same amount from the charity, but we'll have the active passive fundraising as well. So, yep,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. So,
yeah.
man, Russ, this is it's sick. You have anything else you want to cut? Is there anything about like my Givmo that we didn't cover that you want to go over or
No,
any? Okay.
I think that pretty much we you're so good at hosting. You've been able to allow me to let all of my stuff come out of my mouth that but no, I think we've covered it with, at the end of the. One other thing I do want to mention that's true
Oh
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and going with the passive fundraising, I'm not the passive, the active fundraising, we are with the content creators, we're actually going to start another program where we will be a rewards program. So now if someone downloads the
Okay.
app and they run, say, Tornado as the code,
Yeah.
they'll be able to register on our site for rewards. And what they'll do is they'll add in their email address to the app.
Oh, right, because it sees what they've produced.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
so you
then,
can be like, oh wow, you won 10,000 points. You can,
exactly.
dude, that's sick too.
So anybody following their streamer, or they're running the app, so they'll accumulate points. They'll be able to check it on our website, and they can either at the end of the day or the end of the whatever, they can,
Man.
not the end of the day, but that's a
Yeah,
term.
yeah,
But
yeah. You're
at the
right,
end of
right.
what they want to do, they can either trade it in. And now if it's a content creator that they follow, they're more likely to buy like a Steam gift card, and this for
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
So they're basically going to be earning rewards for donating their
Right.
computer.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like
Yep.
it's like they're double dipping at that, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Exactly. So
they're able to give funds to some, monetize one way, and then they're kind
exactly.
of getting rewarded for it on
They're
top of
getting
it.
reward. It's a reward
Yeah,
system. So
yeah.
we're depending on people. They're saying, listen, your computer's running anyways. Why not donate to charity your unused CPU? Great. I'd love that. Oh, and by the way, why not get a reward too for a percentage
Yeah.
of that?
No,
So
exactly.
and we're gonna have gift cards. We have to figure out exactly what the rewards are, but there'll be an online store, and they'll be able to check their points and all that. So that's a huge thing. For people that support the app, not only are you donating it, you're going to get active rewards. I mean, so it's really
Yeah,
a win for
no,
everybody. So
it really is.
the other thing I was going to say just to close up is it's a very simple process. If the charities sometimes they give us the dumbed down version of it, and basically you're convincing your supporters to download the app, run it. It's free, it's safe, and they are essentially donating unused CPU power to raise money for charity. That's the
There you
simplest
go.
explanation. Yep.
There you go. So everyone go check out mygivmo.com. And Russ, again, I thank you so much for coming on.
John, thank you so much again, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. And I'll talk with you soon, my friend.
Awesome. And everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And don't forget to embrace your storm. See ya.